But leading up to this era, I have to drop the pricks at the end because there's that time in your life when you're like getting into something like I was in music. I mean, I've been playing music since I've been a little kid, but in my teen years, and any musician out there will tell you this, there'll be that band that's like, a little bit older than you, but still like in your life.
Yeah.
That you see and something clicks with you where you're like, those dudes are cool as fuck, and I want to do that.
Yeah.
And that was the Pricks for me.
I hate everybody in the whole wide world.
And we were friends with them,
Yeah.
But they were just older and cooler than us because older dudes are cooler than younger dudes.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
That's my experience with Hyper as Hell.
Yeah.
Jim and Mike are my age from Pricks, and
Yeah.
we kind of knew each other from the early '90s hardcore scene, probably late '80s ish even. But I had older cousins who, that's how I got introduced to punk rock. They were like into early '80s hardcore. They were there for it. They were in punk bands. They played.
They showed you what was up.
They showed me all this cool music.
Same with the Pricks for me.
And they went off to San Francisco to become musicians. And they played in bands, these great power pop bands and stuff. And I thought, well, I'd like to be in a band. But I thought, in my head, being as young as I was, well, you got to go to a bigger city to do that. I saw Hyper as Hell. And Donnie's literally only 4 or 5 years older than me. It's not that big of a deal now.
Right. The Pricks were only like 2 or 3 years
right.
older than
That,
me.
but
Maybe
you
a
know
little
what?
more, but yeah, same
back
shit.
then,
Oh,
it
that's
seems
huge.
like it's massive.
When you're 17 like me, and dudes are 22, 23, and going to bars and like hanging out with chicks and doing this and that, you're like, that age difference at that time it's like 20 years now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, for sure.
And so, like, with the Pricks, it was like, that's the same thing. But I saw Hyper as Hell at Brea Rolling Ball, and I'm like, oh, wait, I don't have to go anywhere to do this. I can actually do this here. And that band is fucking cool, and that's how I'm going to do it. So, like, the cool thing about the Pricks was, the Pricks also gave Don Austin their first bass player, because Jimmy was in Don Austin for a minute.
You guys always used to kind of, during that day, like, you guys always used to interchange a little bit.
Well, Unholy 3, the band we were in right after. Well, real quick, Splinter broke up, and Clint said, "I know you guys got some extra tracks. Can I put them out?" Yes. And during that process, Clint and I started talking. We started the Unholy 3, and we were playing a lot with the Pricks. And then when Unholy 3 was done, Clint said, "Do you want to do another band?" I'm like, "Yes, of course." Because it's fucking Clint, right? And he said, "Well, we should have Jimmy." And I'm like, well, fuck yeah. I mean,
yeah, right?
And it worked. But yeah, the Pricks were fucking great. And those 3 records that Clint put out, that's like forgotten Akron shit.
All 3 of the 7-inches, I have them. I have all these different ways I store my records. I have like, my records I play a lot, this and that. And then I have like this like 1 7-inch case that's like it's like my safe.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to get into everything I have in it. But I have all 3 of the Pricks 7-inches because they're really special to me, and also they're rare. and also they are forgotten. They were an awesome band.
They were
And
great.
they were at a really weird time for them. They were that snotty, awesome punk where, like, no one was really doing that. It was more that, like, I don't even know how to describe the punk going on
Poppy.
at that time.
It was
more poppy,
well,
or like over the top, like hard, more on the hardcore end of things.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, it was.
I don't know.
It was like, to me, it was like bands who did the snottier sound. Oftentimes, it just felt like, I'm gonna use a derogatory phrase here, mall punk.
Yeah.
And
I feel it.
the Pricks were not that.
No.
The Pricks were more like snotty.
They were like thrashed.
Snotty in an Angry Samoans way.
Yes.
Snotty in a early 80s hardcore story. Like, the guitar was still dirty.
It was almost like skate punk too.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm
Well, they
saying?
were all skaters.
Like,
They
yeah,
were
they
all
were all, and they
skaters.
were all into skateboarding. Once
So-
we thought they were cool too, because
Yeah.
they were all better skateboarders than us.
But they were as snotty as they were gnarly and nasty enough that when they played with Unholy 3, who was very much like Don Austin, it made sense. You know, the only difference was our songs were a little bit shorter. We had a thicker guitar tone. That was it. Otherwise, it was like it was compatible. It made perfect sense.
I'm full of hot man and I'm ready to go.
Well, I have a really good ender for this because I kind of had it saved up about the Pricks. It's just such a cool rock and roll story. I was the baby in my group of friends, like with Pete and Tim and everybody I was in Strange Division with. So like when they all turned 18, I was 17 for like 4 or 5 months. So we go out to this venue, and it was at Akron University. I still can't remember the name of the venue. I was trying to think the other night, but we all go. And I'm like, I'll sneak in. They all get in. Of course, dude asked for my shitty fake ID. He's like, get out of here. And I'm like, hey, guys, just go in. It was a prick show, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, you guys go in, man. Have fun. Don't worry about it. I'm going to smoke cigarettes outside and just shoot the shit, maybe walk down the street. And I'm like halfway down the block, and I hear Eric Fickus, the singer of the Pricks, like yell out the door. He's like, hey, Wes. He's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, blah, blah, blah. I don't know. I can't get in. I was like, no worries, man. And he goes to the bouncer with me, and he says, this is my friend Wes, and he's coming to the show. And the dude's like, he's not 18. And he's, all right. He goes, Eric Fickus looks at the bouncer. He goes, and the place was packed. He was like, if you don't let him in, we're not playing the fucking show. Straight up to the dude. And I was like, and the bouncer looked at me, and he goes, he X'd my hand. He goes, we're really not supposed to do this, but just I don't want to see you drinking. And
Yeah, don't fuck up.
I was like, man, I ain't gonna, man. I just want to see the show, you know? And I thought that was like the coolest like rock and roll thing. And I already thought the dudes were fucking cool as fuck, but then here they are just pulling me that solid. And then I remember that show, and they were great.